to this special edition of ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Shrikant, joining you live from India's startup capital, Bangalore. And we're really breaking the format today because we have a big voice on the show.
That's right, I'm Krishna Kumar coming to you live from ET Now's Mumbai studios, and as Chandra rightly said, we have a big voice here on the show today. Joining us live, none other than John Chambers, the executive chairman of the iconic Silicon Valley company, and he's here in India for a very special occasion, isn't he, Chandra?
That's right, Krishna. He's in India and in fact Vizag today to ink a partnership with the Andhra Pradesh government, which he believes will make it a digital state. But he's also going to talk to us about all the bets that Cisco will take in the startups here, and also the steps that it will take in nurturing the ecosystem. I'm sure there's a lot that Cisco can do, because a lot of startups really look at Cisco as an iconic company that they take a lot of inspiration from. John Chambers, thank you so much for talking to ET Now Startup Central. It indeed is a pleasure to have you on the show. Take us first, through the reason you're in India, the partnership with the Andhra Pradesh government, and the larger role that Cisco is playing in the whole Digital India plan.
So Andhra Pradesh will be the first digital state in India. We believe the Chief Minister here, Naidu, clearly has the vision and strategy to make that happen, and he knows how to create a win-win environment for both the citizens, the companies, and the government to achieve those goals. You will see one of the most complex demonstrations of true digital capability I've ever seen in a presentation. Remember, this is for a network that's just going in. The importance is it won't be about just connectivity. It will be about how do you do centers of excellence. It will be about how do you do focus on smart cities and smart businesses. It'll be about how you do a startup community. It'll be about how do you reskill Andhra Pradesh so that all the citizens can participate in this digital evolution. So I think Andhra Pradesh is well ahead of its time. I think it'll be a role model for the rest of the country, and it'll be an example of how to do this very quickly. Will there be bumps along the way? Of course. And anytime you make major transitions with the speed that's needed, there'll be huge opportunities, almost unlimited, but also some bumps and challenges.
John, this is Krishna Kumar joining you live from ET Now's Mumbai studios. I want to talk to you about other initiatives that Cisco is taking towards the Digital India mission of the government. Tell us, will smart cities then be another area of focus for Cisco here in India?
Smart cities will absolutely be another area of focus in terms of what we're doing both with the government in Andhra Pradesh, but also the government of India. If you take Prime Minister Modi's top 9 initiatives in terms of a digital India, we align with all of them. And this is where I think many people don't understand the tremendous power of Prime Minister Modi's vision, is how do these come together? It starts with the Digital India, and obviously think of the national broadband as the digital highway for this. But it really quickly breaks down to Make in India, a digital manufacturing capability, where we announced we were committed to building our high-end manufacturing capability in Pune. It amounts to how do you reskill India with our network academies. And each time we're here, you're going to see us make more commitments on network academies and what this can do for all schools within India. It announced to a startup community, to your question about how does a startup community really prosper, because when you think about 1 million jobs per month being created, startups will probably have to contribute more than half of those to where the market goes. When you think about healthcare and education, and you think about security, all that folds into it as well in terms of the direction. And so all Prime Minister Modi's key objectives, from smart cities to a secure India, to the environment and a clean environment, to digital manufacturing, they come together. That's what's exciting about what we're announcing today in Andhra Pradesh. It isn't about just a digital highway, although that is very exciting for me personally. It's how that is the foundation for how you reskill all the citizens in Andhra Pradesh. How do you bring broadband capability for voice and video and healthcare and entertainment to every home in Andhra Pradesh? It's about how you take their golden mile here and you put key applications around smart cities and citizen services through that. It's about how do you create government services with more touch to the citizens within the area. It's all of these combined, and you'll see us do that in Andhra Pradesh as well, especially around the area of education and centers of excellence.
John, the show is called ET Now Startup Central, so we have to ask you about the role that Cisco plans to play in, really encouraging the startup boom here, the investments that you plan to make, because you have a venture capital arm that's pretty active. So take us through your own plans there. How are you really going about that, and also the areas that you will focus on going forward?
One of the important things is each time you see us come to India and to Andhra Pradesh, each time we'll make a series of strategic investments or announcements. And it's the total of these that are based on outcomes, creating a win-win environment where the citizens in India win, society wins, businesses win, and Cisco also wins within it. And that's kind of because we're out of the internet. How do you create an environment where everybody prospers, and you bring your ecosystem of partners with you on that? In terms of the startup community and investments, you will see us each time we're here make additional commitments in each of these categories. So I would anticipate, if you look out over the next several years, probably every several times we come, we'll talk about how we expand our venture capital investments, etc. This trip will be the same.
All right, John, before we let you go, I need to ask you something very important. As a company that is betting big on the India story, tell us, what's your own assessment of how the government has fared so far in making India an attractive investment destination?
18 months ago, I said to the world that if you're going to bet on any country in the world, bet on India. And many people looked at me kind of in surprise. One of the things that Cisco does pretty well, and I'm honored as the prior leader of Cisco and now the executive chairman, is to be able to pick out market transitions and say, here's where you need to see a transition occurring. India is blessed that it's the largest democracy in the world, 1.3 billion people, half the population under 26 years of age, a youth that just has no fear and excitement about the future, but also a startup community that's going to make a difference, and government leaders who have the vision and strategy and willing to take the political risk to implement that, to do what others have not done, to allow India to leapfrog into the future, and instead of being a slow follower, really to be a fast innovator for the future. I've seen the government move with a speed I've never seen during my business career. Still, we all want to move faster, so let me not be hesitant about that. But whether it's areas such as digital manufacturing and the hurdles that were there from regulatory issues and logistics and others, we've seen the government move pretty well. And we've seen the government look about how do you create a win-win environment for the citizens and government and businesses together, and we've seen a government that is willing to partner. So while I encourage, whether it's Andhra Pradesh or the government of India as a whole, to continue to move fast, and I think that's necessary for leadership, I actually have to give the government reasonably good grades on how fast they're moving, given that it is the largest democracy in the world with all the strengths and some of the limitations.
Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now Startup Central. This indeed is a mega exclusive as far as the show is concerned. Krishna, my biggest takeaway from that interview was how optimistic he is about the India story. I mean, there's been a lot of pessimism around digital India, around startup India. These are just tokenisms, and there's nothing happening on the ground. But if you heard out what John Chambers said, he said a lot of people actually don't get it. They don't understand, the underlying roadmap that the government is laying, and perhaps we need more patience. Importantly, he's also given a thumbs up to the government, saying that this is perhaps the fastest he's seen any government moving. So I guess perception really changes here and globally, but all in all, a thumbs up for Startup India and the government.
Absolutely, Chandra. My only takeaway, apart from all the things that you mentioned, was how he lovingly pronounced Andhra Pradesh. But moving on, this one's for all those tech startups. Moving on, if you're a tech startup in the enterprise space, here's something you should listen to. There is an accelerator program which can help you take a leap in your business. We're talking about Zone Startup India, an accelerator program which is run out of the BSE building in Mumbai. To understand more about that, we have With us, Ajay Ramasubramaniam, Director of Zone Startup India, joining us live here on 18 Startup Central. Ajay, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us over here. Tell us what sets you apart from, say, other accelerators that are already existing in the country.
Thanks for having me on ET Now. Just to answer your question, so Zone Startups India is a joint venture of Ryerson Futures, which is an extension of Ryerson University, Toronto. We have been operating several incubators, accelerators, corporate innovation centers, and similar programs in Canada, and we are trying to bring the best practices to India. We have been operating now in India for the last couple of years. We are set up here as a joint venture with the BSc Institute, which is a subsidiary of the Bombay Stock Exchange. So incubators, accelerators, these are terms that are normally used as synonyms, but there's a very stark difference. Incubators are typically good in an academic setup where you're basically nurturing the spirit of entrepreneurship. You're helping young students to trash out their ideas and reach to a stage of feasibility, marketability, and build a prototype. Whereas as an accelerator, the role that we play is at a handoff point where great ideas come out of an incubator. So as an accelerator, the role that we have been playing is largely helping focus on getting market validation, access to a lot of industry partners, and access to investors. So accelerators typically would help companies in two ways, helping grow organically or inorganically. When I say organically, that means helping them acquire customers very early on, which will help a company generate revenues and be sustainable, and by virtue of which they can grow. Inorganic way in a sense that help companies get seeded with funding, which will help them hire resources that are required to scale up operations. So as an accelerator, our focus has purely been on these two areas, or these three areas rather: helping get validation, helping get early customers, which are typically large enterprises or large corporates, which an early stage enterprise or B2B company would otherwise have found difficult to crack. And the third thing is access to investors.
You know, we never would have associated the BSc with the startups because we are so used to tracking stocks listed on that exchange. But to really take this forward, you've explained how your accelerator is different. Can you also take us through, the difference in terms of sectors that it focuses on compared to other accelerators?
Sure. So as you rightly pointed out, yes, we are a technology-focused accelerator. We work with both actually B2B and B2C startups. I mean, a larger percentage of our focus is on the B2B or the enterprise startups because we feel that they are scalable not only in terms of different industries, but also in terms of geography. Comparatively, if you look at B2C startups, yes, they require a lot more time than B2B companies to become viable or sustainable, but at the same time it's a heavy kind of a marketing play and a lot of resources that they might require. So for very obvious reasons, we felt that B2B or enterprise is a more successful kind of a play to be a part of, because we have the kind of industry connects that are required for enterprise companies or B2B startups to become successful, helping them get those pilot opportunities or proof of concept opportunities, or getting them acquire their first few set of customers, which otherwise for an accelerator is difficult to do for B2C customers. Now, for example, if you look at a B2B company or an enterprise technology startup, for them to be fundable, even if they acquire their first 2 or 3 corporate customers very early on and are able to strike partnerships with them, they kind of become fundable because there is a validation and a proof of concept in a sense that an enterprise has onboarded them. Whereas if you look at a B2C startup, for them to be called viable to invest, I think they need to have at least a few 100,000 customers onboarded, if not more, and it is something that as an accelerator we feel that is not something that we can help them with in terms of getting those customers onboarded. So we have definitely a strong suite in terms of our access to market, which is corporates and investors, which are good for B2B or enterprise companies, and that's something that drove our decision. Additionally, given our international presence in multiple geographies, we felt that companies which are mature to go international, that is something that we can bring as a value add onto the table at a later date. So these are the things which kind of helped us focus or help us focus more on B2B or enterprise startups.
All right, Ajay, before we let you go, tell us, you are at the BSc building in Mumbai. Will you look at expanding to other startup hubs in the country, like where Chandra is, Bengaluru, and probably Gurgaon as well?
Sure. So actually, even before we set foot in India and started operations in Mumbai, we were actively considering 3 locations: Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. We didn't choose Bangalore over the other 2 because we didn't want to be the nth player in that market at that point in time, because it was our first foray into India, if you may say. Delhi we did not choose for several other reasons. Mumbai we chose for very strategic reasons, in the sense that Mumbai at that point, couple of years back, didn't really have a startup ecosystem in play in a sense. I mean, yes, there were incubators, academic incubators, private co-working spaces or accelerators which were there, but didn't have a thriving startup ecosystem. At the same time, if you look at a lot of sectors which adopt technology very early on, like banking and financial services, media and entertainment, retail, lifestyle and luxury, large corporates, these are all based out of Mumbai, and Mumbai is where a lot of capital is floating around. So that made us take a call on Mumbai being the first place that we set up shop in India. Having said that, since then we have come across a long way, a lot of partnerships that are currently being explored. And yes, surely a few months down the line you will hear some announcement from us where we are launching new kinds of programs in other parts of the country. So pretty much in the radar and news in the future, I would say.
Thanks so much for joining us on ET Now. Krishna, what can I say? Bangalore's loss seems to be Mumbai's gain, and that too from the BSc building. Certainly something new that I learned on the show today. But with that, we come to the end of the special edition of Startup Central.
Absolutely. Just one small niggle over there, Chandra. Any startup out of Bombay cannot possibly afford to have an office anywhere close to the BSc building in Mumbai. They'll have to travel all the way from the suburbs to the BSc for that. But the fact that we have an accelerator here in Mumbai is good news, all said and done. But with that, we wrap things up here on this special edition of ET Now Startup Central. But don't go anywhere, keep watching ET Now. Coming up next is Market Watch.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.